Hey everybody, it is Aaron, and we have another wonderful guest from the Yucatan Peninsula. We have Dan. How's it going, Dan?
Hey man, I'm really good. How about you?
I'm just fine. I know that we had spoken a few weeks ago, and you had a lot of really interesting things to say about the market in Mexico, and honored to have you on the show today.
I'm really pleased to be here, man. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of us who are not too familiar with you, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so my name is Dan Ramos Jaquez. I'm living in Yucatan, which is a southern state in Mexico, and I'm not originally from here. I'm from San Luis Potosi, which is close to Mexico City, and yeah, we're doing a business here with real estate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I find it so interesting that you're from San Luis is that's one place in Mexico I've always wanted to see, in that part of the country. Could you kind of maybe describe a few of the differences between the Yucatan and a place like San Luis?
Yes, so like people here are different. Yeah, no one is gonna let me lie. Like all the people who come from other parts of Mexico, they can assure you in this. The first thing is they come from the descendants, straight descendants from the Mayans. So here there's people that are not very mixed, so they still have the culture and let's say yeah, the culture of these ancient tribes and everything. It's actually very nice because when I came here, I really discovered a lot of things. You know, it's almost like a different country. People have different habits. They eat even at different times. They behave differently with each other. Yeah, it was a whole new thing for me. But I'm really, really pleased that I found this place to work because it has given me a lot of opportunities. And people here are really nice as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm curious, what times of day do they eat there? How is it different?
So, for example, when I was living in my hometown, we used to eat in the morning, like everyone does, and then in the afternoon we always eat at 2 or 2:30, maybe. I think almost all the Mexicans have these times for lunch, but here people eat earlier, like 12:30 or 1 p.m., and then they have like early dinners as well.
All right. No, it's that's very interesting. I guess the different times of day that people would eat at. It's funny you mentioned that. I When I was in Argentina a few years ago, people will eat at, 10, 11 o'clock at night, no problem, right?
A lot of meat as well, I guess.
A lot of meat too. I definitely enjoyed some good Argentinian steak, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I'm sorry it got cut, my microphone. So what I was saying is there is like this south part of Mexico that is like close to Florida, you know. So this part was like in the middle. It was full of jungles. So the only way to get into the peninsula, it was going by ship, right? So for many years, this peninsula was completely isolated from the whole other parts of Mexico. So it's completely normal that it's very different. So now with the constructions of highways and the planes, you know, it got connected little by little. But before it was like a complete like different part of Mexico, like almost, you know, another country.
Yeah, I find that so interesting. Even here, in the US, you can be in Texas and then, you get in a plane and you fly a few hours away, and it can be, and there are similarities, but a very different culture, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's very, you know, amazing actually.
Yeah, no, I would imagine. So I'm curious, you're from San Luis, when was the first time that you went to the Yucatan, or, what makes it unique for business opportunities?
So to be honest, in my city, in my state, there is a lot of competition in this field. So what we do is we buy mortgage notes, right? And we also do some flippings, house flipping sometimes. This field is already having a lot of competition over there. So we found an opportunity here in Yucatan, and we said, I mean, it's far from our place. It's very safe. It's really, really safe here. It's one of the safest cities in the whole continent, and it's a nice place to be. So we said, okay, what about we invest and we go there. We found out how it goes. So yeah, that's how we decided to go.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I've heard a lot of really interesting things about the Yucatan Peninsula. I've never personally been there, but I hear it's very beautiful, and it's also interesting that there's also business and real estate opportunities there as well.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. And I mean, these kind of things, the mortgage investing, it's not very, very common here in Mexico. But I've been reading a bit about how's the thing in the States, and it's actually there is something very, very similar. So I was checking on the words because, of course, the words are very different. Like I didn't even know these words, to specify and everything, so you guys can understand a bit better. But I will try my best. Right?
Yeah, no problem at all. Because like you said, between the US and Mexico, maybe there are a few differences there in the process, but I can see how there are similarities. So, at least just doing business in Mexico, could you explain the process and kind of, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So what we do is we invest in mortgage notes. So normally mortgage notes are like different classes of each ones. Some of them are performing notes, which are the ones that are still like the debtor is still paying, and the non-performing notes, which are the ones who are being already getting back, like sometimes months, sometimes even years, right? So I understand that the banks, when they find a debtor that is already not paying, they only want to recover some cash, because their business is cash. So what they do is they sell it, or they sell them as a package. And what we did is buying this package of mortgage notes. And what we buy is the non-performing ones. Why? Because these ones are already somehow easier for us to recover an investment, right? So for example, they like there is three parts in these deals, right? When someone buys a house, there is a guy who buys the house. There is the house. There is the guarantee, or you guys call it the asset, and the third part, which is the bank. So what we do is we buy these mortgage notes, and then we put the bank apart. So we take the place of the bank, right? So in the deed, there is like all these numbers of interest rates, and there is all the conditions with the what is going to happen if the debtor is not paying. So what we do is we try to check the people who's living in the house. So we buy them in a package, and then we each one of them we try to research, right? So we go to the houses, we try to talk to people, we try to give them some meetings, so they come to the office and we have some talks. So there is like three different situations that normally happen here. These three different situations are like either the house is abandoned, either there is squatters in the house, or there is a debtor that is in the house, right? So we categorize this in three different classes. The easiest actually are the ones where there is squatters in the house and when there is the house is abandoned. Why? Because the debtors they don't really care about the house anymore. So when there is like this house that is abandoned, we just come, we take possession of the house, we renovate it, and then we try to find this debtor, right? The debtor is already like out of the house because he knows that he didn't pay, so he will eventually leave the house, right? The ownership is gonna end. So what we do is we come, we try to look for him, we try social media sometimes, we try to look for people who are like with the same last names, who are like relatives maybe, and we try to find them. Sometimes they are like even out of the state. Sometimes they're like I don't know, like in like far, you know. So obviously they don't really want anything with the house. Like they just want to live without debt. So what we do is we talk to them and we say, look, we're gonna pay you something. You're free of debt if you sign this paper, and then you're gonna like just free, right? Free yourself from the debt. So normally they accept because like initially they just like the house. So they accept, and then we already have the possession of the house, so we just sell it, right? I'm not gonna talk about the names of the papers, the paperwork that is like different in English and different in Spanish, but this is the first case, right? So the second, I mean, the first class of mortgage notes that we can find. So the second class is the ones where there is squatters in the house. So when there is squatters, normally the debtor is already like, you know, already like living in another city or living in the peninsula, but living far away, or we have to try to find him. So we do the same. We just negotiate with him. We offer him some money, and we offer him the opportunity to get debt free. And then we talk to the squatters, and then we also negotiate with them. Eventually, we get the house. We deal with a lot of negotiation, so that's the most part of the whole work, the whole thing that we do. You know, dealing with squatters sometimes is really really difficult. They just want to live in a house that they don't want to pay. They don't pay like the services, water, electricity. Sometimes the bills are really high. We have to come and talk to them and say, hey, look, we can rent you a place for 1, 2, 3, 4 months in another neighborhood, and then you leave us a house, right? And yeah, sometimes it takes 1 month or 2 months to convince them, but eventually they leave. So after they leave, we renovate the house and we sell the house. So the important thing here is to have the paper signed by the debtor in which he actually pays back with the asset, which is the house, right? So he agrees to pay back with the asset, and then like the only thing we need to do is get back the asset, the possession of the house. So the third one is when the debtors live in the house. When the debtors live in the house, then they are so used to be in this house that they just don't want to leave. Sometimes you talk to them, you tell them, look, you didn't pay, you fell behind, because sometimes these mortgage notes that we buy are like 9 years behind, right?
Wow.
So these people already like they already thought, I'm not gonna leave this place. I didn't pay for 9 years. No one came to bother me, so it's already mine. So they never imagined that one day I'm gonna come and say like, we have to negotiate, right? We could give you some money, some cash, so you can rent for some months in another place, but you're not gonna get the house because it's either you pay the full amount of the debt, because it's the accumulation of all the interest, and also there is another type of interest. I don't know how it's called in the States. You know, when you get behind the payments, there's another interest that goes inside the equation. So yeah, so it's kind of like a 70% negotiation. The other part is just renovating the house beautifully, and that attracts, that when someone sees it, they fell in love with it. So yeah, so that's like a kind of like a summary of everything.
Yeah, no, and that's very helpful. It really shows the different scenarios. I mean, you talked about dealing with the debtor, right? And then also I find the squatter very interesting because generally in the US we don't exactly have squatters. So I mean, maybe there are some, but it's not as common, it seems.
Yeah, yeah, it's not as common. But here, actually, that's another difference here in the Yucatan. There is a lot of people who are living in houses that are not their house. So there is a lot of squatters, and back in my hometown, there is almost not like people don't come and live in houses that are not their house. So yeah, that's another difference. And but to be honest, for us, it's really good. It's really good because when there is squatters, they know that it's not their house, so they already know that at some point someone is going to come and say, hey, you need to go out, right? So for us, it's something really really good, because when there is squatters, then the debtor is already knowing that there is squatters. So he's like, I don't have the house, the asset, I owe to the bank, I just want to get rid of this problem. And we've kind of fix their problem for them because they get out debt free. Yeah.
Sure, of course. And I mean, that's a great service to offer as well, right? Because I mean, you obviously have your business and they get off debt free, like you said, right?
Yeah, and for example, when the debtors are still living in the house, I forgot to mention that we always give them the opportunity to pay what they got behind. But it's just, in the deed is specifying that when you get behind the payments, there is no way back to refinance. So the only way to repay the whole debt is paying in once, right? So it becomes really hard for them, and it's actually something that we have to fight about, like the feeling of taking something that is like not from them, but you feel bad. And that's why we offer them a lot of options, like getting them a rent when they have kids, getting them like a bigger place to live. Of course, not for like for so long, but I mean for some months, for half a year or something, right? For us, still profitable to do that, so we try to do it. And like as I said, it's a lot of negotiation, and surprisingly, we always get friends with the people who are, like, for example, the squatters. I don't even know how, but I mean, they feel so helped in such a way that we rent them a place, like in a better place, a better house, that they actually feel that they can trust us. So yeah, it's a whole experience, and it's been really nice.
That's great. No, and it's interesting as well. It's an act of courage and faith as well, right? You going from San Luis and then you finding a new market and working there as well.
Yeah, yeah. When we arrived, we needed to get like as many contacts as possible. People who fix the houses, people who would promote the houses when they're ready to sell. And it's been like I feel like it's been a long journey, but it's not been so long yet. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you gave a wonderful explanation about the process and what you do. So, we learned a bit about the different parts, San Luis, the Yucatan, your business. What are your plans for the future? What are you looking to do in the future?
So to be honest, this is sometimes a bit stressful. So what I'm looking forward is to create some kind of passive income. Once we recover like a big part of this investment, we're planning to invest in some rental properties, maybe close to the beach or maybe close to historical areas, and then keep doing this, because to be honest, it's a good business and it's profitable for us. I feel like we're doing something good also for the city. I'll give you an example. For example, there is one street where we bought 4 mortgage notes in the whole in one block on Stem Street. So this street was having a lot of wreck houses, which were the mortgage notes, because there was squatters. Normally the squatters, they don't take care of the house. They just live in it, and they don't care. And there was like 5 different mortgage notes that we bought in the same street, and we recovered already 2 of them, and the street is already like changing, because we renovated one of the houses, then another one, we already sold one, so these people are already like seeing a different street and new people as well. So yeah, like I feel good doing this. like of course there is like the ugly part, you know, the stressful part, talking to people for like for so long on the phone, trying to negotiate the best way to, you know, to finish these things. But it's been good so far.
Yeah, that must be very rewarding too, because like you said, it can be very hard, it can be stressful, but yet you're seeing an improvement in the community. So that's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Well, is there anything that you would maybe someone's listening, maybe they're here in the US, maybe they're someone from the US living in Mexico, is there anything that you would like to say?
I mean, like nothing else. Like as I said, Merida, Yucatan is a really nice place to live, even to visit. You know, you guys have to give it a chance and come here. Actually, there is a lot of expats here, not expats, but retired people from Canada and States. They come here because it's warm. There is beach. It's cheaper than there, and it's a good life, and it's very very safe. So yeah, and if you have any question about the other thing, the business, I mean, if I explain well, just you have like any doubt, you can contact me or you can ask now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Maybe someone is looking to do business in Merida or in the Yucatan or maybe in San Luis as well, and they want to get in contact with you. Where can we find you? Are you on social media or?
Yeah, I'm mainly on Instagram or email. I'm not very active, to be honest, but yeah, I'm always checking. You can leave the text right there, right?
Of course.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, very good, Dan. Well, we've talked about a lot. We've talked a bit about, kind of your business, different scenarios that you see on a daily basis, what you deal with, and it's been great to have you on the show. So thank you so much.
Thanks to you. Thanks to you for the invite.
Sure. Have a good one.